Hey guys, what's up, it's Drew here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the West of Sunfall hand cannon, but not just this, we're going to be using this as an example to talk about the 180 RPM hand cannons in general as well. I think these precision hand cannons are really unique and I've wanted to share my thoughts on them for quite a while now, but never got around to doing it, so in this video we'll be going in depth and talking about them. So let's get started. Of course, first let's talk about our archetype, which I did mention is the 180 RPM hand cannons, better known as the precision hand cannons. Now these hand cannons deal 47 damage to the head and 32 damage to the body. Very similar to the 180 RPM scouts, just a little less damage. In terms of our time to kill, against most armor levels, you're going to be getting a 1.33 second optimal time to kill, taking 3 critical shots and 2 body shots. Against some lower levels, you might get 2 crit, 3 body, or even just 4 critical shots, but these are much lower armor levels. In terms of the base time to kill, it's going to be a punishing 7 body shots in 2 whole seconds. So you definitely want to go for a middle ground average time to kill, which is about 1.67 seconds, which is okay, I guess, taking 1 crit, 5 body shots. If you're to miss a shot with this hand cannon, your time to kill is going to increase by 0.33 seconds, and this is the least of all the hand cannon archetypes, which isn't bad. It's the most forgiving, of course, being the fastest fire rate. This logically makes sense. However, it's still important to hit your shots because of its slower overall time to kill, so that slower time to kill kind of cancels this forgiveness out. Now let's take a look at the perks available specifically on the West of Sunfall. First, we have our sights, starting with the Crossfire HCS, so this increases range at the cost of slightly decreasing stability and handling. Steady Hand HCS, which increases stability and handling. And lastly, Sure Shot HCS, which increases range but decreases stability and handling. For the magazine perks on this weapon, firstly we have Accurized Rounds, which increases the range on the weapon. We have Extended Mag, which takes the mag size from 11 to a 14 bullet mag, but at the cost of greatly decreasing your reload speed. Lastly, we have High Caliber Rounds, which causes the opponent you're shooting at to experience more flinch and make it harder to aim for them, as well as providing a slight benefit in range. Lastly, our trait perk on this weapon is Autoloading Holster, which means the weapon is going to automatically reload when you put it away or switch out of it for 5 to 6 seconds. So wait 5 to 6 seconds after switching the weapon, and it'll automatically reload itself. I think this is a bit of an underrated perk just because it allows you to stay engaged in the fight for much longer and not have to be so concerned with reloading, since you get that backpack reload type effect. Especially on a hand cannon like this, when you pair this with an auto rifle, you can use it as your finishing blow kind of weapon. Swap it out, take a few shots, finish the target, and then swap back to your auto and not have to worry about reloading. Of course, this isn't limited to being paired with auto rifles, it's just an example. Personally, my most preferred setup of perks is Steady Hand HCS, High Caliber Rounds, and of course, Autoloading Holster. In terms of the sights, there's no real right answer. It really comes down to what you feel comfortable with most, which feels the best to you, and on top of it, how you intend on using the weapon. If you're going to be using this as your main kind of ranged weapon, then you're going to want to go for more range, of course. If you're using this as a secondary type weapon, then maybe you just want to focus on stability. I choose stability just because it helps control the amount of bounce and recoil that this weapon has, which makes it easier to fire closer to max rate of fire, which is important, and still hit headshots and shots reliably. I normally choose against High Caliber Rounds, but Accurized Rounds only seemed like it gave a bit more range on the weapon, which didn't really equate to much. So I thought, you know what the heck, High Caliber Rounds might be good on this, and it still provides some range that's close to Accurized Rounds. Now let's take a look at the stats on the weapon using Steady Hand HCS and High Caliber Rounds. In terms of range, this weapon has 50 range with Steady Hand HCS and High Caliber Rounds. However, if you were to put on Accurized Rounds and the Sure Shot HCS, you're going to see a maximum of 63 range, which is pretty damn good for a hand cannon. So if you do want to use this as your more ranged weapon, it's definitely viable because 63 range is a pretty good stat on a hand cannon. 79 target acquisition is above average. It's nothing insane, but still, again, above average, which is great as well. With this weapon, I never felt like range was an issue. Shots generally felt responsive, and the time to kill didn't seem like it was ever really altered as a result of damage fall off. Although at the longer ends of mid-range, sometimes additional headshots were needed for an optimal time to kill, of course, with my Steady Hand setup. I did see that with Steady Hand, drop-off started at about 28 or 29 meters, which again is about average, not that it's a bad thing, but considering we're spec'd mainly for stability with this stat and this testing, you can expect much better range out of going for a full range spec on this weapon. Funny enough though, it didn't feel like the range stat on this gun was really what deterred its performance at range. It was more so the recoil. The awkward recoil on the weapon kept it from performing well and reliably at range more than the range stat and damage drop off itself. But we'll move into that now and talk about the stability of the weapon. West of Sunfall with our steady hand setup has 76 stability, which is pretty good, but more importantly, 100 recoil direction. So West of Sunfall's got pretty great stability, and this max stability setup here makes shots pretty tightly packed together, which requires minimal recoil compensation and allows for pretty consistent performance. Now, recoil direction is perfect and completely vertical on this weapon, which again makes recoil compensation much easier and much more predictable and makes the weapon more consistent as a whole. With this steady hand setup, you can fire this weapon as fast as you like, and the recoil will just stay perfect and shots will remain accurate, so it doesn't seem to be really affected by bloom. The only negative thing I have to say about the stability on the weapon is that its visual kick and recoil of the weapon itself, the animation, is somewhat distracting, and it inhibits the ability to reliably hit shots on a target, especially at range. You'll find that the recoil on the weapon kind of covers the target a little bit, and you only get a split second, a small window of time to really visualize and see your target before shooting again, because of course you're going to be wanting to fire close to the fastest rate of fire that you can to get the fastest kill that you can. So finally, we have a 50 handling stat and 33 reload stat. So for handling, it felt decent, nothing noticeably responsive or great, but nothing incredibly sluggish either. Reload though felt rather slow. Again, 33 reload was somewhat slow, and pairing this with a kinetic reloader mod is definitely not a bad idea. Although the auto-loading holster perk does make this far less of an issue, so if you start getting used to using that, the backpack reload, just shooting with the weapon, putting it away, using your other weapon, and then taking it back out, this will kind of solve the issue of the reload a lot more. Finally, in terms of masterworks, what do you want to masterwork on this weapon? I'd say that stability is always a good masterwork, and it's great to try and minimize the weapon's bounce and kick that gets rather distracting that I talked about, although it's definitely not required because this weapon does already have pretty good stability and incredibly consistent recoil patterns, so this would really just be playing to the weapon's strengths. If you're looking to play to its weaknesses and improve on those, handling, reload, or magazine masterworks are definitely not bad ideas. They're great options. Handling makes the weapon feel a little bit more snappy, a little bit more responsive. Reloading somewhat solves that problem of a slow reload, but it's not necessary because you do have backpack reload on the weapon, so a magazine masterwork might help as well, and you can even pair this if you wanted to with extended mag so that you really have a massive mag and you can just put the weapon away whenever you want to reload. So overall, for its archetype, out of all the 180 hand cannons, West of Sunfall is definitely the best one in my opinion. This is the one to use if you're looking to try 180 hand cannons. I think this weapon has a ton of potential and could be quite rewarding to master. However, I do have quite a bit of thoughts and things I'd like to say about 180 hand cannons. I think these 180 hand cannons are a great idea. Perfectly vertical and predictable recoil, amazing inner accuracy, good hipfire accuracy, and no bloom as far as I can notice, which is absolutely great. This feels almost like the same nature as a Magnum out of the Halo series. In my head, I think it would be quite rewarding again to master this archetype, and with a lot of inconsistency and randomness in the game to minimize the skill gap, I think that this is something great that the game needs, and I'm happy that they put these hand cannons in the game. The thing is here, is it feels like the only way to be remotely competitive with this archetype is by shooting at the maximum rate of fire, mainly because its kill time is the lowest among all of the hand cannons in the game. This would make sense and be okay to do considering that the 180 hand cannons have the most consistency of all the hand cannons in the game, experiencing of course little to no bloom and having their perfect recoil patterns. The trade-off for the incredible consistency here is the longest time to kill overall, since there isn't bloom and other inconsistencies to account for as there are with the other hand cannons. That being said, the recoil and the bounce of the weapon model itself is incredibly distracting and, like I said, inhibits you from reliably hitting your target, especially with much needed headshots. And this is far easier to control while pacing your shots, and perhaps maybe this recoil and pacing your shots, even on this consistent hand cannon, is what Bungie intended. However, it doesn't at all make sense to have a weapon with high consistency and a lower time to kill if you're going to kill that consistency and ability to shoot at the max rate of fire with recoil that just makes it feel inconsistent and random. I'd personally like them to heavily decrease the weapon's bounce or recoil so that hitting a regular 5-shot kill was just more likely and possible every time. Again, the trade-off here should be really great overall consistency in exchange for a somewhat slower time to kill. I'd also like them to reduce the time to kill requirement to 2 critical shots and 3 body shots, so 1 less headshot, 1 more body shot in exchange for that, to again be more in line with other hand cannons and be more competitive as a result. At that point, I think these hand cannons, which are a pretty great idea right now, could be plenty competitive. I'm hoping some of my suggested changes are what's coming in the new balancing update and that these hand cannons do get a more competitive role in the meta, because like I said, I love West of Sunfall. I think it's a great gun, and I think the idea of these hand cannons is something really great for the game. Anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Definitely comment with your thoughts on the 180 hand cannons. What do you think about them? What do they need to be better? Have you tried them? Do you like them? As always, I'd like to hear your thoughts. So guys, thank you so much again for watching. It's been Drew here today, and I'll catch you guys later.